I will do everything in my power so that my daughter and my son will never see me loaded.
You called this into existence. You made this, you learned manifestation. And one of the things I love about you is you're insanely curious. And you learn the art of saying, I don't know and I need help.
You would not believe me if I told you where I was to where I am today. I was gonna tell you a story that I think is hysterical.
I think you should tell me. Yeah, you got that grin on your face.
I've actually never told this story, and this is really funny.
Welcome back to the Seano Show. I'm your host, Seano McFarland. My brother from another, Alexander Ludwig. He's a wrestler. He's a fucking Viking.
Yeah.
He's in Bad Boys. He was a little independent film called The Hunger Games. and he can sing his fucking ass off. We're going to talk about the album. And he's got a jewelry line with his wife. And holy, if I didn't work on myself so much, I might actually be jealous of you. And you're only 32 and you're a sober brother.
So nice to be back here, man.
What should we just start there? What's it like to be back? Maybe a little backstory on how we met each other and all that good stuff.
It's surreal. I mean, it's like, this place in specific it holds a really special place in my heart. I mean, this was the first kind of refuge I found after getting out of rehab 6 years ago. So coming back is, it's very bittersweet. Like even just driving around Los Angeles, I mean, I have so many amazing memories here and also so many, memories that I would rather forget, but no, I can never forget, so it's a really, I love coming back to LA, and like I have such an amazing group of friends here and amazing people, but it's just, all the emotions come back up,
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet, people always ask me, how do you do what you do with all the tragedies, the death and all that? It's because I get so many wins and moments like this. And I remember where we started.
Yeah.
And I celebrate you, who you are. You're a father now.
Of two.
Yeah, of two. And it's powerful, man. It's really
It's real, dude. Like I say this to people, I'm like, you would not believe, like when they tell you that, like, secrets keep you sick and that the program works, right? And I'm like, you would not believe me if I told you where I was to where I am today. It's like, it's truly just,
well, I don't think people can believe it because they can't understand where you're at. I mean, if what you're comfortable talking about, talk about your bottom, talk about your moment of surrender when you wave the white flag.
I've heard different actors talk about different versions of their bottom and different like musicians. And the reason I bring actors and musicians up is because those are the people that I looked up to, or that I looked to see that if I had a problem. And I think when I was a kid, like, I think everybody, it's funny when you get to AA meetings and stuff, like everybody's like, yeah, well, I never thought that was me. Like I wasn't the guy with the problem, but it seems like that's what everybody says. Like everyone's like, yeah, I'm not the alcoholic, right? Like, it's the other guy. Like I can go a day without doing it. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if you can go a day without doing it. If on Wednesday you're fine, but by Friday you're an absolute mess, you have a problem. And I think that that's really hard to come to terms with for people. It certainly was really hard for me to come to terms with because I wasn't the kind of guy who was like, I need this every day. I was a different kind where when I went and I was gone to the world. But like, I have always been a very extreme personality. And I think I've always had this, candidly, I didn't grow up below the poverty line. I had a very, very blessed upbringing. And I always felt this tremendous amount of guilt around that, that I never had to struggle the way that some of my other artist colleagues did. And then when I had success, especially so easily, so early on, listen, I went to hundreds and thousands of auditions before that and a lot of no's, but on average, compared to the average actor, I did get very lucky very early. And when you're 19 years old and a movie like The Hunger Games comes out and you think you understand how to be an actor and how to work, that does something to you. Especially when everyone thinks that there's nothing worse. Jim Jeffrey said this and I just loved it so much. He was like, there's nothing worse than being famous and broke. Because everyone thinks that you made it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're that 19-year-old guy who's like, I'm buying all my friends dinner. And like, they have no idea that like, I have no money, and
why'd you do that?
Why did I do that? That's a great question. I think that I've always had a bad relationship with money. I always thought that like, I think that, and I think early on in my life, I felt like the amount that you had was equivalent to how happy a person was or how successful a person was. And as I've gotten older and been so lucky with the tremendous people I've met from every side of the financial scale, from people who have started multi-billion-dollar companies who I consider some of my close friends, to people who literally walked on off the streets, who I also consider my close friends. I found that happiness and financial gain are two very, very different things, and those two should never be tied to each other at all. And that people's wins in life come at different times. And one of the sickest things that we do to ourselves as human beings is we put these crazy timelines on ourselves. Like, well, if I'm not here at this point, and I see it in my siblings, I see it in my friends, that they're like, well, easy for you to say, Alexander, like, look what you have at your life. I was like, guys, it's not how the world works. I'm like, like, I may have had wins at this time in my life, but who knows what is ahead for me. Like, I think we're all going to have wins at different times in our life, and we're all running our own race. This is not a competition. This is not, that's not what life is, and I think that we get lost in that. I mean, you look at your close friend RDJ, and you look at when he had his big wins. I mean, listen, he wasn't crushing it at 18 years old. That guy had to go through hell before he did it. And thank God he did, because you look at what he has now. I would be willing to bet, and I mean, you know him way more than I've only met him a few times, but like, I'd be willing to bet that man is one of the most grateful men on the planet because of what he went through.
Every day, buddy. And much like Robert, what you did though is you put in the work though.
You have to.
You put in the work, and you made recovery number one.
Yeah, and it was so funny. I joked to my family about this. I'm like, I was a classic C student, but I fucking aced rehab. Yeah. I was like, I'm getting better. Like, this is an issue, and I'm getting better. And even to this day, like, it's the thing I'm most proud of, that I will do everything in my power so that my daughter and my son will never see me loaded.
Straight up.
And honestly, the irony is that, like, I used to be so afraid of, like, being organized or, like, not procrastinating. And now I've realized that, like, literally discipline is freedom. People are like, Alexander, how do you do it? Right? Because one of the greatest advice I got from a friend about children was that you fit them into your life, not the other way around. So, because the last thing you want is to ever resent your kids, right? It's like, so Lauren and I had Lenny, and she was like 2 months old. She'd gotten all her shots and she was ready to go. And we were like, man, like, if we didn't have the baby, we'd probably be, because in my life, like, we can't plan vacations, or we can't plan, like, trips, because, like, tomorrow I could literally get a call saying you're in South Africa for 3.5 months. So we're like, well, we'd probably be in Spain right now or something, right? So we're like, let's go to Spain. Brought the baby, and it was amazing.
Oh, wow.
And it was an incredible experience. And now with 2, we do the same thing. And listen, traveling's ruined forever, but once you're there, it's an incredible experience, and, like, something that I'm so grateful to be able to share with my kids. So, yeah, you got to put in the work, and you have to really want it. And that's the craziest thing about it, is, like, all we can do, and we've seen tragedy together.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
if you're comfortable saying it, talk about it.
All you can do is all you can do. And for us, the best thing we can do for others, I think, is living a life where you're in constant consultation, and you're living the life that you preach. You practice what you preach. And I'm never going to put myself on a pedestal, because I have been through everything that anybody who walks into these AA rooms, or anyone on the street, has probably been through. Like, we all are sharing a similar story. Very different circumstances, but we all have our crosses to bear, our burdens to bear. And my sponsor here had relapsed, and to date, I think is gone to the wind. And there's only so much we can do. Like, at that point, you have to leave it to that person to want to get better, and all we can do is serve as an example of, like, how great it can be. And listen, we all have bad days, but, like, God, am I grateful. Like, beyond grateful to be where I'm at, and to be sober. And one of the saddest stories we had together. And there's so many more that we've all experienced separately, but together, there was a young guy named Marcello, and he was this incredible light, this incredible human being. He was a family friend, and wanted to be an actor, and he was really, really struggling with his own addictions. And I brought him in here, and we did what we could, and he became a part of the community. I think he even lived here, and sadly, it seemed like he was going on a really good path, and then out of nowhere, he passed away. And
Right.
I wasn't like super close with him personally. Like we had friends that we were close to, but I just that was a really hard one. That
was
was
a
a
hard
young,
one.
amazing kid with so much to offer the world.
Yeah.
And that sucked. And I've had my writing partner died from an overdose, and my cousin, and it's everywhere. And I guess what we can do is just serve as an example of like, this is where you can go, and you got to love yourself enough to give yourself that.
We're going to talk
that hope
about
and ask for
self-love.
help. Yeah.
About our beautiful brother Marcel. He was such a beautiful cat. He loved swimming in the ocean. So when I went out and swam this morning, I said, this show's for you today, brother.
Yeah.
We're going to dedicate this one for you.
Yeah.
Buddy, let's talk about this. You got sober at a young age. What are techniques would you recommend for young people, young artists that have helped you stay clean, maintain a life, meet an extraordinary person, okay, marry that person, okay, be happy in that marriage? Could you talk about some of the techniques you've learned over the years?
100%. I mean, and I guess as a caveat, just say like I think I'm always growing in my sobriety and as a human. So I'm not about to sit here and be like, I've figured it out, because I certainly haven't, and I don't think I ever will. But my favorite author in the entire world is a guy named Ryan Holiday. And Ryan is a friend of mine, and he lives in Austin, Texas, and we've become friends since I did his podcast. He basically modernized Stoicism in these books, and
Really special guy.
I've told him how special and how much of an impact he's had on me, but I don't know if he'll ever really understand. And I've had people reach out to me who are trying to get sober, and I've recommended his books, and they were like, whoa, because I think shame is a huge part of addiction. We all carry this immense amount of shame and guilt, and just like, it's like, I'll never be enough, or, somebody did something to me at a younger age, and I'm just like never going to get over this, and I'm not worthy, or whatever it is. Especially nowadays, like, it is so tough for young men, especially, and women, but like, with social media and everything, everyone is posting their highlight reels, and you're just looking around, just being like, wow, maybe I didn't figure this out. Maybe I didn't get life right. Right. And that's just like, when you read these books about Stoicism and about how these people lived, discipline is freedom. And
say that again. Discipline is what?
Is freedom.
Straight up.
And Aristotle said this. He said, freedom is obedience to self-formulated rules. And they figured it out. I really believe that these guys did, these old Stoics, because the world will change and everything, but these guys were like, there's such a similarity I found to Stoicism and sobriety. And for me, at least, that it's about, what are the things I need to do every day that make me the best version of myself? And I see you every day. You're jumping in the ocean. You're working out, and you are just a light every day.
Oh, thank you, brother.
The first thing somebody would say is, well, that's just Seano. It's like, no. Seano has to work at that.
Straight up.
And that's why you're the guy you are. Right. And that's the same for me. Or you look at anybody in their life. And I found this a lot in like, successful people everywhere. And when I say successful, I'm not talking rich, because to me, like, that's not what success. I'm talking about successful people in their life. They have children that love them.
They're free.
They're free.
Right. They're on a high frequency.
And in fact, they're not wanting for more,
Right.
or needing for more. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to achieve or build or any of that. That's fine, but they're not living in a place of lack, and that takes a lot of work. And I have totally, and I believe this fully, if you go within and you focus on building, and I say this to my brother all the time, it's building your armor, nothing can phase you. I live in a business that is filled with rejection, and that rejection can breed shame, and it can breed worry, and it can breed lack. And no matter how big you get, this is just to dispel whatever people think a life of an actor is. And I've talked to some of the people that everyone in the world knows their names. And I am telling you, this does not change. And that was a huge moment for me when I talked to some of these guys, and they were like, no, dude, I still lose the occasional job to the other guy. It just gets a smaller pool, right? But that feeling is always there. And the only way to dispel of that feeling that I have found is doing the things that make me the best version of myself every day. So if I want to get up early, I have to go to bed early.
Right.
If I want to feel good, I need to eat good. I need to exercise. If I want to get my mind straight, I need to meditate. And it doesn't have to be for an hour. It can be for 10 minutes. It can be for 5 minutes. Living in constant consultation. Showing up for myself so that I can show up for the world. And it doesn't work the other way around. Right? It's like, I always thought it was such a stupid thing they did on planes, where they were like, make sure you put your mask on first. And I was like, why? Like, what kind of hero does that? Put your mask on your kid first, right? And only now do I understand it.
Right.
You got to put your mask on first.
Straight up.
So that you can take care of everyone else. And it's sad when some other people don't want to do that, or don't realize that they haven't done that yet. Or the worst one is when you see people that have put their mask on and then taken it off. That's the hardest one, right?
Let's talk about that. That's beautiful. That's a great metaphor. Yeah.
Because your addict is always doing push-ups in the parking lot, and I will say it's gotten a lot easier for me over the time. Like I've been around this stuff that I used to just, it has shown itself to me. I've been at an event or a party or something where the drug I used to do, or the drinking and all that stuff is around. And granted, I don't really go out as much anymore. That's not really what gets me high, like in life. But I've been around it since, and nothing. I remember without getting too crazy, I remember the specific situation that happened not too long ago. I was at some event, and somebody had something, and they were doing it in front of me. And I looked up to the sky, and I literally said, I know what you're doing. I was like, that's a good one. And I left. And I was just like, this isn't me. Like I have too much in life that I want to do, and too many things I want to build, and too many people depending on me to ever put myself in that situation. But I need to constantly remind myself that it's right there.
Well, let me add to that great thing, buddy. Going back to the Stoics, going back to preparation, if you're not committed to the daily work, which I know you are, that might not be oh God, I see what you're doing. That might be, do you have enough right now for both of us?
Totally.
This thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't, because you never know when the darkness is going to come, because it's very patient.
I think the daily work is, you need to define what that is for you, right? Like, it's not like read an AA book and be like, that's, all right, I got to follow those steps every single day. I think it's like, that's the part of like living in consultation. Like, what is your daily work? And then it gets really fun, because you're like, oh, this is working. And then you're like, how do I fine tune this? And then you're like, how do I supercharge this? It's like, you're constantly just like getting better. And that's what I'm excited for. I always go like, man, in 6 years to date, I mean, it's it's mind-boggling I mean, it's kids, it's homes, it's my beautiful, incredible wife. It's a gold and silver recycled jewelry company called There that we started. It's that uses all recycled materials. It's my relationships with my family and my friends, and that they look to me as somebody who shows up and who is there in 6 short years. And all I'm thinking is, what is 6 more years supposed to look like? You know?
Let's go back a little bit, because I want to make a point that you've made, and it's very important the listeners hear this. These things that you have in your life, these films, your beautiful children, that wasn't on the radar when we started. And you would get overwhelmed sometimes, and right? But you called this into existence, okay? You made this, you learned manifestation. And one of the things I love about you is you're insanely curious. And you learn the art of saying, I don't know and I need help. And you got really good at, I'm just going to do my fucking work right now. I'm going to stay in my lane and let's see what drops in.
Yeah.
And once you really, when I saw you kind of really master that, and then it couldn't stop. Mm. Can we talk more about that, about the visualization, the manifestation, when you stopped trying so hard, when you just focused on getting my ass in the best shape that I can, doing the best project I can, do what's in front of me, not worrying about what's going to happen next?
That is the hardest thing I still struggle with today.
Thank you, brother.
That is, if anything, you hit it on the nose, dude. Like that, if there's anything that I'm working on, like so much, it's that, because manifesting is a very funny term. Like, it seems, I know it exists. Like, I've felt it, I believe it. Like, it has happened for me, and I've seen it happen for people. Like, I know manifesting is a real thing, but it sounds like fairy dust. Right? It sounds like this can't be real. But I think, including myself, people mistake what that is. And it's not, if I sit here and I want $1 million and I just think about it and I visualize it happening, it's gonna just, I'm gonna open my eyes and just be there. It's like, that's not how it works. It's like, we're not wizards here.
That's called magical thinking.
That's magical thinking. Yeah.
That's junkie talk.
It's junkie talk, exactly. like what I've learned, and this is the hardest one, is like, when you audition for a project or you are offered a project, and both happen, at different times. Like, usually, like the huge ones, like a Bad Boys, like everyone is auditioning for that. Usually, it's very rare that you would be offered something like that. Every once in a while, I'd be very lucky and I'll get a straight up offer for a big studio thing. But more often than not, the things that you want, you fight for. The problem is that you start dreaming about what it's going to be and what it's going to be for you and your career and for everyone else around you, and you've got this whole vision, and then suddenly you don't get it. And not only have you lost that job, you've lost the entire narrative and story that you've told yourself that this job is going to happen, right? The irony in this is that I kid you not, every single job I have ever not gotten in my life, I have looked back, and this has just taken time for me to realize and been like, thank God I didn't get that job, because not one of them, not one of the ones that I was like so close on that I was like, this is the one, like
the one.
I could feel it. Not one of them was good or life-changing or anything. It's always the ones you don't expect.
Right.
And the reason it's the ones that you don't expect is because when you were going for that job, you had let go of the outcome. And it's ironic because for me, like, it's the ones where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm there to give a performance, not to get a job. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to let go of, if it's meant for me, it's meant for me. And if it's not, it's not. Mm-hmm. I have met guys who have gotten incredibly lucky. And the most successful people in the world will tell you that they got it through a lot of persistence, consistency, and luck. Mm-hmm. Guys who have success and claim that it was all because of them and what they did, all them. No, no, no. I did it all. It's all mine. Like, that ain't lasting.
Right.
I do believe in making your own luck. I believe in being consistent and persistent, and I believe that happens too. But I think it's kind of toxic for people to look up to these sort of people who have just claimed that everything that happened that was so blessed in their life is purely based on them and only them.
I think making your own luck is manifestation.
100%. And this is why I always go back to building your own armor. Because if I feel good and I'm eating well and I look better, I'm more confident, I train, I study, I prep. When I go into that room or that meeting or whatever it is, they could tell me I'm the worst actor they've ever met in their entire life. And I would not be fazed for a second. Because I know what I'm doing and I feel good and I'm confident. And I think that there's a power in just focusing on what you can control and let go of the things that you can't. And the only things we can control is the things we can control. There's a great scene in the Bruce Almighty. I love this movie. Do you remember when Jim Carrey, he's God, right? And he's looking at Jennifer Aniston. He's got the powers of God. And he's like, love me, right? And he's like
right.
You know, and that's not up to you.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that because I think that that's life. And the irony is that when you let go of that, of what other people think of you or trying to control some certain outcome that you think is meant for you, the universe will surprise you in the most magical ways.
In the most magical ways.
And at the end of the day, like, if you are healthy, like, you are the luckiest person alive. Like, if you have your health, you truly have everything. So, like, anything else, like, realistically is just a bonus.
I want to talk about your heart because your heart's magical, brother.
Oh, come on.
You've always struck me as somebody who's very kind. And one of the things I love about you, and I'm going to continue to say it's a long list, you'll meet people randomly somewhere at a fucking getting ready for your Uber, and they'll just talk and you listen to them and then you hear their story and then you broadcast their story. You want to raise awareness or money for them. And it's all because you care about people. You actually give a shit. Yeah, where did that come from? Talk to me about that part of you. It's also, I think, why you're such a fucking great actor.
Thanks, dude. Well, honestly, like, the truth is, like, I don't know how you could not be that person and be a great actor because, like, I am so interested in the taxi driver story.
Right.
You know, like, there's the girl who runs ads for us on one of our companies, and I was listening to her story the other night. Like, her mother was an illegal immigrant, and her story is insane. It's like, and I'm just going, holy shit. Like just, you know, I thought I had a crazy story, and it's like people all over have so much to offer, you know, and we are all here for a reason and a purpose. And I believe God or the universe or whatever you believe in, it has put that inside of you. And, I'll tell you, I have amazing family. I really do. Like, they love the shit out of us, and I love the hell out of them. Like every family, we are complicated. Yeah. You know? We're certainly not perfect, but man, do we have a lot of love. And the one thing I'm so grateful that I have my parents for is, you know, they always taught me to treat the janitor the same way you treat the CEO. And the beauty about my business, and I love it so much, is that assistant over there that's grabbing me coffee on the set that I'm the star of could be my boss.
Right.
In 5 years.
Amen. Right on.
You know, and by the way, that's not the reason to be nice.
Right.
But, like, I love that that's a very real possibility. Yeah. You know, like, that's awesome.
Right.
And everybody in Hollywood, for the most part, has to start at the very bottom. And it's your job to not forget that. We're also just human beings. You know, like, and kids, I think, also is a huge part of that. Like, it really wakes you up to, like, what actually matters in life. The things I cared so much about as a young kid is, like, just not what I care about now. And I have met enough of my heroes to know.
Yeah.
they shit like you and me.
Yep.
You know, there's
Yep.
just amazing people, amazing work ethic, very lucky and very persistent, you know, and humble. A lot of them are very, very humble people. Not everyone, but a lot of them. It's always the ones simply the cracks. But I will say that I've met enough people now in my life to realize they are just that. A person with their own issues and insecurities like all of us.
But how do you deal with negativity?
With negativity?
Negativity, your brain or people you see in the world. Of course, you know, there are people not kind in your industry, like every part of the world, or people cut you off. How do you deal and not let that land on you?
I was going to tell you a story that I think is hysterical.
I think you should tell me. Yeah, you got that grin on your face.
I've actually never told this story, and this is really funny. Every actor has like their worst audition story, right?
Right.
And it's one of my favorite things to hear. I ask a lot of actors, like, tell me your like worst audition story. And like years ago, I was asked, and I can't say his name because he's a very famous director who's sadly passed away. But I was asked to go to this huge director's office because he'd seen my tape and he wanted me to play him in a movie about his life. And that was a huge deal. Like, this was a very famous director. and like made movies that I loved growing up. So I prepared my ass off. There's like 8 producers waiting in the room for me to walk in, and it's a musical. It has a musical element to it. I'm like, okay, I call my agent. Do I have to prepare a song? Do I have to? Nope, no song. There's no singing, nothing. You know where this is going. I'm like, okay, you sure? Yep. Okay. Show up to the office and to meet the casting director, who you actually know as well. Amazing person. Love this person so much. And have my back. And he said, okay, let's go into the room to do your read. And I get stopped. And they go, Mr. Director wants to speak to you quickly in his office alone. So that's odd. Okay. So I'm trying really hard not to say his name because like I've told the story a few times and I have said. So he brings me to his office. He sits behind the desk and he goes, and this is a comedy, by the way. I'm about to go do a comedic reading for music, musical movie. And he goes, I just want you to know your audition was bad. Which, by the way, honestly, like looking back, he's not wrong. Like I was like, and I actually knew that. Like this was so long ago. Like I remember this, so like I totally respect that. But I was like, dude, I'm about to go in and read like 16 pages. Like this is like a big audition. Like what the fuck is this guy doing? And I was like, okay, appreciate that. What are you looking for? And also like, why the fuck am I here? Like, if you didn't like it, why did you call me in?
Did you say that to him, or are you thinking that yourself?
I said not why the fuck am I, but also like I was like, but you called me in, so like what is it? You clearly see something. What is it you want? You know, I was let's collaborate on this. What are you looking for? He's like, nothing. I just wanted you to know it was bad. And I was like, oh damn, this is gonna be fun. So, like, great. He's like, let's go do it. Like, I don't know if this person was having a really bad day. I've heard that he's
a little cantankerous,
remarkably hard to work with, and like just kind of an asshole. So I took it, and I knew this kind of going into it, but I was like, wow, that's savage. So I go into the reading. All the producers are there thinking we just had some great meeting in the office. He's like, all right, start. I'm like, damn. So I do this comedic movie scene. No laughs. He just goes, huh. That was it. And I was like, fuck, this is a disaster. And then I'm like, all right, guys, well, thanks for your time. It was great. I'll see you later. I go to walk up. He's like, what about the song? I was like, like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, did you prepare a song? I'm like, no, I actually genuinely, I was like, I called my agent, asked him if you guys want a song. I figured you would, but like, no. He said, that's fine. Just sing, You Are My Sunshine.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
Oh my God.
So I just stand up there. And he's just like, you are my sunshine. dude, I left that room and I called my agent, bursting out laughing.
Oh, wow.
Because he was like, how'd it go? And I'm like, I can tell you what, we ain't getting the fucking job. And it was the worst thing that I ever had happen to me. But I was like, I finally got my story. And I was like,
right.
I love this. It was so fun. And also like the movie never happened. The movie never happened. Nothing ever happened with it. But I had already reached a place in my career at that point where like I had started to gain that confidence. I had done it enough that I felt like this big time director wasn't going to penetrate my soul. Whereas early on, it's a lot, you know, you're more vulnerable. Now as an actor, it is so much more of a collaborative experience. Like
Right.
I know that I've been chosen to play this role because I'm a professional and I care so much about what we do and I show up ready to go. And I don't care if you're making $20 million more than me on a film. We've both been hired
Right on.
to execute this project. So we're colleagues and we're a team. And that's how we operate. And we treat the crew just like we would treat any other actor. Like that's how you operate. And yeah, I mean, I love that story so much. I like tell it's like a great dinner time story. And it was wild, but it didn't penetrate my soul.
Well, most people that would have crushed them.
It would have. But again,
And you
like,
found the humor in it. And
But
it's so important to laugh and goof on ourselves.
you have to make fun of yourself.
Right.
And that was the thing is like, it wasn't always like that. Like, I think that the negativity how do I deal with it? It's like from years of not being able to deal with it.
Right.
And being like, I will not survive in this business. Because there are so many tremendously talented, incredible, passionate, lovely, humble people in this business. And there are also fucking assholes as well.
Right.
Like any business. Like you're gonna run into people that suck, you know, that haven't figured it out and that feel like putting somebody down is the way to live their life. And that's fine for them. But you can't let that get to you or they win.
Amen.
And that's about building your armor.
That's right.
And
Or as we like to say here, not letting anybody blow your light out.
don't let anyone blow your light out.
Right, brother?
And that takes training and
Yes, it
practice.
does.
You know, you're not going to be the Michael Jordan of that right off the bat,
No, it's not going to happen.
you know, but you can work your way towards it.
Yeah.
And it's a daily practice.
It's a daily practice. Let me go with this, then I want to talk about your amazing fucking career, buddy. What you just said, you know, I was blessed to early on work for Jeff Goldblum. And he
Dude.
was such an amazing teacher to me.
He's amazing.
He's such one of the kind, he's the most prepared guy on the set.
Yeah.
And he taught me the art of, you have to, you know, whatever is in life, particularly around acting at the time, you have to not want it.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to not want it. And then something, you know, you probably, you know, I've preached to you forever. I would always say to people, do you trust God in all your affairs?
That is spot on though. Because
Let's talk
like,
about that,
No,
brother.
it's so spot on because like, and that, by the way, the have to not want it thing is such a hard thing,
Yeah,
especially
touch on
for
both, please,
an
will you?
artist,
Yeah.
because it's like you telling me not to want to do this project is you telling me not to be an artist. Because when I read something that I love, that I want to be a part of, because I love this, it's like, that is the hardest thing for me to understand because it's like, because I agree with you. You have to not want it. But like, I want to be an actor.
Right.
I want to tell this
Right.
story. Of course I do.
Right.
So it's a really, really fine line. I think the important thing to remember is that, and again, this goes for everything in life, like, if you want it to be the best it can be, then trust the people who made this project to make, because this isn't yours, this is theirs, right? Trust them to make this project the best, because just because I want to tell the story for me and with me in it, doesn't mean it's the best version of the story.
Right
You know,
on.
maybe the person who wrote it wants it to be,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's always been a struggle for me, right? Because like, and I mean, you talk to any big actor, you know, with a name far bigger than mine, and I talk to them about this too. It's like, it is a very fine line, but he's right. He's 100% right. You have to not want it. And Bryan Cranston wrote that in a book, and I'll say it again. It's like, when you're auditioning for a project, you're there to give a performance, not to get a job. That is your job. Just give your performance. And I always say the job is auditioning. Like, it's not getting the role. Like, that's the fun thing, you know? But the letting go and trusting God in all your affairs is the way. And I know this from you. I know this because Oprah has talked about it. I know this because every person I have ever looked up to who has done something even in the realm of what I want to do has said the same thing, that there is an art form and a practice to letting go. And I don't know about you, and I would be so interested to know, because I'm basically getting a free therapy session right now. And you know I have a bad relationship with money, so let's see. Thank you.
You're the best, bro. I love that. You Canadians, I love it. You're the best. That's great.
How do you let go? What is the best way that you have found to do it?
First, by doing it wrong 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But I always come back to something I always talk to with you is, if God could give me the gift of sobriety at 22 years of age and somehow wake up and never want to put drugs in my system ever again, why not help me out with the rest of my life? Okay. And then like you, I've practiced the art of, I'm not doing this podcast to be famous or to make money. No. I'm just showing up and seeing what happens. I have years and years of, I'm going to be the most prepared person, whether it's a therapy session or whatever it is, and it's going to land the way it's going to land. And by doing that, I can celebrate the I don't know. And I constantly get surprised. I just came back from 2 weeks in Europe. I sang this trip into existence, okay? I met some of the most extraordinary people I couldn't imagine. Like, for instance, I was on my way to go to the film festival and the art festival in Venice with another gentleman that was hosting me. It was a fundraiser for Benedict Cumberbatch and his lovely wife. And they didn't book my reservation on the flight. And it was completely sold out. And I'm just fucking laughing. All right, whatever. Somehow I got on it. And the woman that was supposed to do it was so embarrassed. She sat back in economy, and I had a 2-hour powwow with this guy that changed my life. And I can give you 1,000 more like that. Okay? But had I been, what the fuck? You don't have my ticket? I came all the way out here, guy? No. I was more about, don't sweat it. If we don't go, it's cool. What can I do to make this easier for everybody? That always works for me. But I constantly get surprised. That's it.
But would you say that that sort of temperament is something that you had to work on?
Of course it is. No, that didn't.
That's not just Seano. That's something that you've built.
Yeah, Seano just didn't happen okay, no, my God, dude. You know, I mean, it's faith. It's real faith, and it is service, and it is gratitude, and it's not forgetting where I came from. Okay, but it's also I have a track record now.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, because that's exactly it.
You don't wake up in faith.
No, 100%. It's like the track record helps inform you being like, no, this does work.
Well, the system works. I found a system. I have empirical data.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you look at my.
It has to work for me because I'd be too fucked up.
No, you and me both.
Right.
100%. And it's exactly right. It's like. It's funny because people are like, 6 years, you've been sober for 6 years. I'm like, yeah, but like now the idea of ever going back is so fucking insane.
Yeah,
like,
you can't
I couldn't even imagine. Like, who is that person?
Right. Well, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for your children to ever see you loaded. It's just fucking unacceptable.
It's just never happening. It's never
straight
happening.
Up. And that's what it takes.
And I will work every single day.
Word.
For that to never happen.
That's how we end the generational trauma. Well, you have a toolkit to know how to deal. People will say, well, Seano, do you still get triggered? I said, of course I do, but they're not 11s anymore.
Yeah, no, 100%.
They hover around 3 or 4. I can live with 3s and 4s.
Yes.
But my toolkit allows me to tai chi with the world.
But dude, when I was first out of rehab, like it was like they were 16s. I was
they were
like,
16s.
Oh my god, can't go there. Oh, it's why I felt like I had just come out of like a spaceship or something. Because like also I went to like an all guys facility, so it was all men. So I hadn't seen like a woman for like 50 days, and it was just like. It was surreal. I felt like I was out of prison, and I wasn't even there for that long. I mean, it felt long, but it was 50 days, and I actually got out a little bit early because of good behavior. Not really sounds like a prison. I got out early because they were like, no, we really feel like we can sign off on you. Like you were ready to take on the world. Like go. It's sad, man. Like I talked to people from there, and a lot of them didn't stay sober, and a lot of them. And some of them died.
Yeah,
and
some of them died.
Yeah, like it was so real.
And some of the people that helped you find God, that helped you wake up, are currently in prison. You were talking about our beautiful brother John Eric.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if this was something that was like spoken about.
No, we can speak about John Eric. John Eric was a guy who was my right-hand man here at Shell. He was
He's
a
in
beautiful
jail.
brother. He was 6'6", stunning, helped so many people get sober, but was keeping secrets about sexual addiction. I'm not here to shame him because he would say, Seano, please talk about that, because he's currently in a prison cell right now.
I didn't know he was in jail.
Yeah, and
What happened? What happened?
he had lost his way and darkness overtook him and he got back on the streets. And then one day there was a knock on the door here. 2 detectives, is never a good sign when 2 detectives come here. They say, is John Eric still a resident here? And I said, no, officer, he's not. What can I help you with? And they said, we're actually from the victims unit. We're here following up on a case. He was assaulted in MacArthur Park. And they had a file and they were looking at it. And I said, what's in that file? And they go, there are pictures of him in the emergency room. And I said, officer, is it okay if I look at these? And it's still haunting. He got so badly abused. It's amazing. He got his face kicked in. His face is still swollen inside. And he got sober for a little bit. And he overtook him and he went back to robbing places. And he's currently in prison.
He was robbing places.
Yeah. And this is a guy who
He was he was my first sponsor when I got out.
lived next door and just helped so many guys. And that's what happens. Secrets.
Yeah, but like, so this was the saddest thing about, I mean, other than the fact that I fucking love John and like, I want nothing but the best for him. And it's like heartbreaking to hear that. Even sadder than John ending up in prison and everything that happened there is what happened to the people he was sponsoring.
Let's talk about that, buddy. How'd that land on you?
It really pissed me off because
Right.
I was like, and it pissed me off. I can't remember the guy's name and I wouldn't even bring it up because this is a no-name thing, but like one of his, like the new league guys he was sponsored, and John had sponsored me for maybe a year or maybe more, maybe like 2 years. I can't remember. He's like, well, fuck if it doesn't work for John.
Right.
I said, what the fuck are you talking about if it doesn't work for John? I'm like, is it working for you? Like, is it working for you? Like, you're telling me that this is your excuse to just go back and just live that life. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, for me, I'm like, no. You know, John has had a secret and he's kept that. And that's on John. But I'm not letting that take me, you know. In fact, I'm going to be here ready and able to help John when he gets out.
And I know you would be. And I hope he does get out.
And I hope he does. And I hope he's ready to like look at his life and come back. Cause
I hope so.
He's a beautiful soul.
He always has a home there. People always have a home.
100%.
Yeah,
but like,
big time.
But that really just like, I was like, damn, man, like that's such an addict thing to say. And the reason I think it upset me the most is because a part of me was thinking it.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Of
I'm
course.
sure that's why it upset me. It was like, oh man, maybe this doesn't work. I mean, it was early on enough that I was kind of like, huh, you know? And then I was like, no, that ain't my way out. You know, I'm not going to use that as my excuse to be some irresponsible mess that I was. Like, and I say this to everybody who's getting sober is like, it is not your fault that you were an addict.
Right.
It is not your fault that whatever happened in your life happened to you. It is 100% your fault if you do nothing about it.
Amen, brother. Right on.
That's
Thank
on you.
That's right.
And that goes with every trauma anyone has. Like, life is not fair. People have shit. Like I rented this was crazy. I rented a house for my ex-girlfriend's family over the Christmas holidays and years ago. And we were on a frozen lake and this beautiful cabin on this frozen lake. Like we'd actually like cut into the ice and like we went like ice plunging with like ropes attached to us so we didn't get dragged into the water. It was, you know, our version of safe. We're Canadians, we're psychos. But the next morning I had woken up and we had stayed up really late that night. So I think it was like 11 a.m. or something. I had like woken up and I heard this like loud, like woof by my window. And I guess one of the girls that were there, her boyfriend, took a snowmobile out onto the ice. Like the ice now in Canada, that's actually not like a crazy thing to do. Like it can be cold enough that's fine. But this specific season, the ice was not thick enough, and you can look this stuff up online to find out the thickness of the ice. It's not thick enough to hold this snowmobile up. So what happened was he was going insanely fast over the ice, and the ice cracked, and the snowmobile hit the crack and started to just tumble on itself with him on it, and then flung him like 50 feet away from the snowmobile. I'm in my boxers. I sprint out onto the ice, and I finally arrive at the snowmobile, which just looks like it's been exploded, and him that looks like he's been attacked by a bear. His ear is ripped off. There's blood. I mean, it looked like a scene from Vikings, and blood everywhere. And that was another crazy thing was that it really didn't affect me, and I'm 100% believe that that's because I've been around so much makeup that looks so real. And I was like, okay, this is another scene. But anyways, there was blood everywhere, and I was just like, holy shit. And then my ex's brother came on, who has he worked on the oil rigs, so they have to get like your first responder thing, I guess, to work on I can't remember what that's called, but he learns first aid and stuff like that. So like he arrived too, so it was me and him. And this guy's unresponsive, and it starts to like move a little bit. I'm like, holy shit, we need to build this guy a stretcher. Like, he can't be out here bleeding out on the ice. Call the, obviously, ambulance immediately. It's going to take them an hour to get to here. But like, this guy isn't going to make it an hour. They send a helicopter, and the pilot's like, we can't land on the ice. It's too thin. Like, the helicopter will go through the ice. So one of my ex's stepbrothers ended up painting like an H right beside the cabin and the ice. I mean, they had literally, we had about 2 feet. I'm not even joking, for error. Like, they had to land perfectly, and these pilots are so incredible. They did. By the time the helicopter had landed, there was already an ambulance that finally made it there. So he was being worked on. He got airlifted out, then took a plane from this area in Kamloops that we were at back to Vancouver, Canada, where they worked on him. And he survived, but is now a quadriplegic.
Wow.
I mean, I guess technically he's a paraplegic because he can move his arms a little bit, but his hands are like that. And so, through that experience, I barely knew this guy. Like, we talk often on WhatsApp, and I always message him every Christmas. And, he had tried to take his own life at one point, which I completely understand.
No, you don't.
And I recommended, Ryan's book stuff. And I said to him, listen, man, like, what happened to you is just beyond unfair. Like, I can't imagine how you're feeling right now. Like, this is an outdoorsman. Like, he loves being there, and I'm like, you need to do everything you can to find purpose in this. Like, you have to fight like your life depends on it to find meaning in this, because your life does. Like, he does. Like, and dude, like, I can't even fucking imagine. Like, I cannot imagine. But like, after experiencing that firsthand, like watching somebody lose their ability to move, it's like, what are you complaining about, dude?
Amen. Right on, brother. Because you and I both know we could have so easily been that guy.
Within a heartbeat.
Right.
I mean,
and we still can be.
100%. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. Like, I was like literally jumping off of cliffs in Hollywood, like a psychopath, like not even thinking that like it was a 20-foot drop, and I would be rolling around in the dust and the dirt and the blood just because I was so messed up out of my mind, not even realizing it. It's like, that so easily should have been me.
Snap your neck, it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and then my other friend like had an overdose, and I'm like, I remember, using with this guy. Like, that should have been me, and it's just, for anybody out there who watches this, like, I had made a promise to myself that like, once I got clean and sober, like, I was, God, like, help me get clean and sober. And I will do everything I can to help the next people.
I know.
And that's what this is for, really. It's like, and I know you live your life this way too. It's like, you truly aren't alone. There's so many people that deal with it, and there truly is a light at the end of the tunnel. You just need to start, and you need to ask for help, and that requires a lot of courage.
Let's talk about your career. By the way, I watched Bad Boys again on the flight back. You are so fucking good in that.
Thanks, man.
I was crying my eyes off in that movie, and I forget how your comedic talent. You're really fucking funny.
I've never like tell my wife that.
I'll tell that director that too.
Yeah.
Fuck. You can't tell me.
They're amazing. Those directors are incredible, and like that movie is like that. The best thing about what I do is I get to work with my heroes. You know, I grew up on Bad Boys. You know, I know them. Like I ran into Michael Bay when we were in Spain. He was staying at the same hotel we were staying at, and I was like, Michael, like I gotta tell you, you're the reason I got a job right now. And he was like, you're in Bad Boys. Like, yeah. I was like, and we were just talking about and we just ended up sending Will like this video of us together, like this little joke video of me trying to convince Bay to do a cameo in the movie, and he ended up doing a cameo in the movie the second time. But the fact that I'm even just telling you that story now, like, or that I get to work with Jerry Bruckheimer, and Jerry is like the Spielberg of producers, you know, and I look at the whole team, Chad Oman and Will and Martin, and they're just so lovely to work with. They truly are amazing human beings. And it's a really, and you know, Vanessa is incredible as well. And I've made a lot of really, really close friends on that set. And it's a movie that I grew up loving, and getting to be a part of it is just surreal. And that's the beauty of the business, is every once in a while, you know, you get to work with your heroes, and you get to be a part of the things that, you know, you were like, if only. You know,
in the movie where you're like, there's a rat and no one knows who the rat is, right? In the division, and you go full disclosure, I'm just not the rat, dude.
Okay, you're gonna kill me. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my, are you serious?
So
why? On purpose?
No, I need to watch it now. They had the premiere in LA, which is when I was going to see it. But I was in the middle of shooting a show for MGM Plus and Amazon Prime called Earth Abides in Vancouver. So I was, and my schedule for that was so insane. Like I was literally working every single day. There was no way I was going to be able to make it to the premiere, unfortunately. So I still haven't been able to see it, but I've seen clips from it because when we flew over to LA, a bunch of people were watching the movie on the flight. So I was like kind of like watching it from like the seat behind me.
Oh, that's so beautiful,
like,
brother.
Oh my God.
It's fucking, you're unbelievable in it. You're really,
thanks, man.
yeah.
It's so much fun. And I also feel like those kind of movies, like, listen, they ain't out here to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
They're here to entertain.
Right.
And like those movies are like the kind of movies that like people need right now and love. Like
Big time,
they get to
buddy.
laugh. They get to just have a fun summer movie. So to be a small part of something like that is
That's super fucking
special.
cool. Yeah, it's magical. Let's talk about Vikings.
And our boy Eric did a really good job.
Oh,
too.
Eric was fucking great in
Yeah.
that. Eric plays a bad guy in this movie.
Yeah.
And he's a
Eric Dane, he's a great bad guy.
He's a good bad guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he did.
Love you,
a great
Eric,
job.
if you're
Yeah,
watching
I
the
heard,
show,
yeah.
which I think you might be. Buddy, let's talk about Vikings. Do you guys film it? Is that filmed in Dublin?
We filmed that in Dublin for 6 years. Yeah. Wow. Dublin, Ireland.
Did you like? I just got back from Dublin.
I loved it. But
Special place.
Very special place. Incredible people.
Right?
Not a great place if you're an addict. There's a lot of. Listen, I mean, it's a cold climate. It's gray a lot of the time. There's a huge drinking culture, and it's easy to get roped into that. But I have so much love for Ireland. I mean, it's also like where my wife and I reconnected in Dublin. So like, I look at that place so fondly, and I just I miss it. I cannot wait for the day that I get offered a movie in Dublin and I get to work with that crew again. I truly will never have an experience with a cast like I did on that show because everybody moved there. So it was like we were it's like we went to college together. You know, I ran into Catherine, who played Lagatha, my mother, who literally looks like she should be my sister, showed up to the pop-up we did for the jewelry company yesterday. Wow. And I hadn't seen her in years, only just because our schedules, and, you know, I live in Austin now, so we don't get to see everybody all the time, but like not a single moment had passed. Like I was just like, oh my God, hugged her. We were just, you know, joking, and just like nothing ever changed. And I have so much love for that cast and for that show, and I'm so proud of that show.
You should be, buddy.
And my 12-year-old self would have just lost his mind if he knew that he would get to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's one of those shows that I'm just like, and it's crazy to me how relevant that show has stayed over time. It's almost like the fans it has grown over the years. And I've been off it now for like 5 years.
Oh, wow. Has it been that long?
I
Wow.
know, but like Netflix had just bought it a couple of years ago and re-released it, and so it's crazy.
You created an iconic character, brother.
I'm blessed. I got to play an iconic character.
Yeah,
you know?
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
But no, I appreciate that. Like I'm, and he was a real guy. He was the first king of Sweden, and it's so special. Yeah.
So I'm going to talk more about your
But
career.
this goes to things you can and can't control.
Yeah.
So I want to bring up how this happened, because when I got the Hunger Games, I knew, and funny enough, ran into Josh, who literally 2 days ago at an Emmys party, and I haven't seen him for 10 years. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? How are you?
Oh,
like,
wow.
It was amazing. But like when I got that movie, I knew, and it's the only movie to date where I knew it was going to be huge. The books were massive. You already felt it. Like this was going to be
The energy.
When I did Vikings, it was some small show on the History Channel. Like my cousin thought my career was over. Like, what are you doing taking a movie on the History Channel? And this huge choice, and it was TV. It wasn't like, it was just at the beginning of like what I would call the golden age of television, like when TV was really becoming synonymous with film, right? Where you could feel like you were watching Braveheart on a television screen as opposed to in the theaters, right? And I was like, man, like, should I be doing this? It's a 6-year commitment. I'm 20 years old. Like, I don't know. Like, movies were always my thing. I've only ever done movies. Like, should I do this show? Will I be able to go back to film? Like, I don't know what that looks like. And I was like, I'm an actor. It's all about playing great characters. And what I've been offered here is a phenomenal character. Phenomenal character. That's all that matters.
Right on.
I can't control who sees it, how well it does. I can't control that it's not on HBO. Surely enough, it is on HBO, all over Europe. It's on Netflix all over the other parts of Europe. And the second most illegally downloaded TV show in history, with 360 million illegal downloads. So if you went to like Ghana or like you went to some random place in Africa, like they know you. And
that's amazing.
I felt that when I went to Uruguay. I swear to God, dude, it was the most insane experience ever. Like, it was just like, you're chased by 8 paparazzi cars and they're calling the cops to pull you over on your Vespa because your license plate's all fucked up just so they can take photos. It was so insane. And then like fans were going nuts. And I was just like, wow, this show has really traveled. But it was some small show on the History Channel that never should have.
How about that?
So I just think that like, and that's how I operate with everything I do now. It's like, for me, it's like, I can't control what's going to be big or what's not. Nobody can. Of course you want everything that you do to be seen. I love that. Like, it makes me happy to know that my characters have, had a small part in helping people or filling people's time or whatever, but like, I have no control over that. All I care about is telling great stories, great characters.
Let's talk about 2 more things. Let's talk about your album.
Yeah.
And let's talk about your project with your wife and this incredible jewelry line and the messaging behind it. The thing about your album, I remember when you're saying like, I'm going to Nashville. I go, what are you doing out there? I go, I'm going to learn about songwriting. That's what people don't understand this. I think you were on a movie then, and on weekends, you would fly to Nashville and just take meetings with people. Do I have that right?
Yeah. And I knew nobody.
You didn't know anybody, right?
I knew nobody. I just started taking flights on like Southwest and Delta, and for 8 months just started going to Nashville. It just was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna figure this out because I love songwriting. And this was purely people keep asking me like, what are you doing? Like, what's your next album? Like, what do you do? I'm like, you have to understand, like, this was you doing this podcast. This was and is. I am doing this because I love it.
Right on.
I am not here, like, I am not about to tour for 300 days out of the year.
Right.
And be like, I'm going to be an actor and a country sensation at the same time. Like, that's no, that's not what I'm doing. Like, I love it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to release music on my time when I can. And I'm going to keep writing because I love writing. So I started taking these flights, and sure enough, on one plane, all these guys dressed in black come up to me to say, we love Lone Survivor. We're huge fans. what are you doing going to Nashville? And I was like, well, writing. I love writing. I have the time right now. I'm just want to keep coming back and forth. He's like, dude, we produce and play with Jason Aldean. I was like, Jason's one of my favorite country artists. They're like, send me your stuff. I was like, well, I only have like 3 like songs that I wrote, and you know, we have a demo. I'll send it to you. Send it to them. We need to work together. Next thing you know, we're in a studio together, independently making this record. Next thing you know, Jason's like one of my close buddies. Next thing you know, I'm signed by BMG. And I was just like, what the hell is happening? Like, I just did this because I love it, and I have no control over what happened. Then next thing you know, we're going to do a huge radio tour, and we're going to promote this album released, COVID, no radio tour. And I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, I got what I came to do. You know, like, listen, if a song popped off and was great. I would play festivals and I would go do that. And I still plan to. Like, I love doing that. We did a sold out tour in Germany and that was a blast. Like, I love it. But like, again, like, I think because it came from a place of just love and respect for that art form and that way of life, because truly, like, there's so much about country music that I connect to and I love. Like, I grew up loving the outdoors. I'm from Canada.
Yeah,
like, you know, we actually listen to a ton of country music over there. There's a huge country festival we have in Calgary called Boots and Hearts, which I absolutely will play. I played Watershed Festival, which was unbelievable at the Gorge. It was like, the Gorge is like the most stunning that and Red Rock's like the 2 most stunning locations. And I played there and it was just the most spectacular, magical experience. And I've made so many friends in that world that I otherwise never would have met if I had not just started hopping on flights, going there, knowing nobody. And I just think that's the manifesting we're talking about. Right?
Straight up. Exhausted, beat, probably a little scared. Who in the fuck am I?
What am I doing?
Like,
yeah, like,
country singer, really?
Yeah, like, dude, I'm just.
That's who you are, though, man. That's your determination. That's your fierceness.
Nice,
man. A lot of fierceness. Jewelry line with your wife.
Yeah.
How did that come about? The stuff is beautiful. Talk about the cause. Talk about the background on it, please.
Yeah, so There is what it's called. Online, it's www.thereisours.com. There is, that name for the jewelry company came from the idea that what was somebody else's is mine now, and it will be somebody else's after. Oof. So what's ours today is theirs tomorrow. And realistically, we did so much research and realized, like, dude, why are we mining for gold for retail jewelry? This is stupid. We don't need to be doing this anymore. There's enough gold in the world and in circulation for us to never need to do that again. So what we do is we take your computer chips from old computers and phones and all these things that are 400 times more dense than gold ore. So those gold chips in your phones are 400 times more dense than gold ore.
Wow.
Those are melted down through a manufacturer. We don't actually personally melt them down. They're melted down. And with our certified manufacturer, we send them CADs. They make the pieces and we sell them. And the goal long-term is to do this with a lot more things. But right now, jewelry made the most sense to start with. And Lauren is such an insanely talented designer.
My God.
You know, she worked at a jewelry company before that, and we bootstrapped this with our own capital and have since gotten incredible investors involved who like really believe in the vision and what this is about. You know, electronic waste is growing at 3 times the rate of the human population. We need this to be the new normal, and I think honestly, people want this to be the new normal.
Big time, brother.
We don't need to just be digging shit out of the ground that we can wear. It already exists here. The biggest gold mines are in our pockets and in our computers. We don't even realize it.
Powerful.
So let's
well done.
We just repurpose the stuff that's already there. And it's still obviously 100% gold. We sell 100% solid gold. It's just all recycled. And we had a great meeting at Goop the other day, and their buyer came to our pop-up and they want to put us in stores. We had a really nice meeting with one of the other editors from Elle Magazine came by and was really fascinated by what we were doing. And the business itself is doing really well. Like we doubled our sales since last year, and we're looking to double again the year after. So again, infancy of the company. It's very small, and Lauren is working her damn ass off, and I'm so proud of her. The other beauty of this is that we're very blessed that this company doesn't require her to be in one place. So that also means that if I have to go away for 3.5 months, we bring the family.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Lauren can do all the work from there.
Wonderful, man. Bravo to you guys.
Yeah. So it's been really special, and I'm really proud of it. And I've been doing my best to just pump it out. And we're doing a bunch of photo shoots here this week. But I said that, listen, at the end of the day, like, I want to get to a place, and we already are in a lot of aspects, where like, who cares if we don't make the most margins?
Right.
Who cares?
You're making
like,
it right.
Like, we're making a difference.
Right.
And of course we want this to be a successful company. Of course we want it to grow.
Right.
Duh. But at the same time, like, I don't want to compromise our initial values, which is like, why did we start this in the first place? To make the world a better place in one small sector.
Yeah.
And then we can grow from there.
Okay. Buddy, we're coming to a conclusion. Final thoughts, ideas. What do you want to say to everybody?
No,
How do you
dude,
want to end this?
I just I'm so blessed and honored that you would consider me to come do this with you, and I just think that you have helped so many people in your life, and including me, and it means everything. And what I think is the most admirable out of everything is that you help people, and it's not for any other reason but helping people. And I think everybody, including myself, can do that. It only has to be one person. You can help somebody by just being kind on the street, or meeting somebody. And I'm so blessed to know you, and I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so proud to be sober. It's the thing I'm most proud of in my life, and I want anybody struggling with addiction or depression or anything, I want them to feel the way that I feel today, and know that I'm no better or different. In fact, I'd be willing to put my money on the fact that I've probably done a lot worse shit than a lot of people too. But through consistency and just starting, I promise you'll look back and go, holy shit, I'm so grateful that I took the first step.
Amen, buddy. Well, thank you, buddy, for your trust and your faith in me.
Yeah, man.
And taking the playbook and winning a few Super Bowls.
That'd be good.
You're the fucking best.
You too, dude.
Godspeed, brother.
You too.
All right, man.
You're the man.
High
Thanks,
five.
man.
The Seano Show is a production of iHeart Podcasts, hosted by me, Seano McFarlane, produced by Pod People and 28th Ave. Our lead producer is Keith Kornelek. Our executive producer is Lindsay Hoffman. Marketing lead is Ashley Weaver. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.